Hey everyone, welcome to Tool Talk. This is Heather.
And Amber.
Today we've got a hot topic, a trifecta, if you will, of things that people tend to get a little confused about, maybe meld a little bit together, or they just completely don't understand at all. And they are motivation, discipline, and consistency.
That is so good, Heather. I am excited to talk about this topic today because this is something we hear from our clients a lot of times. And even just out in the wild, talking to people who are not our clients, I hear and I see things on social media where people are saying, I'm just not motivated. I need the motivation to go work out. Can somebody help me with my motivation to eat healthy? So I know that we have a lot to cover on this topic. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about motivation to start.
Oh, motivation. So a lot of times I think people think that that is the end of the line. Like motivation is it. And if they're not motivated, and it's very easily to get not motivated. That's where the discipline and the consistency come into play. But I think a lot of times people just get confused on what it means to be motivated or what is motivating them. I think it's easy for us to forget why we started, especially if we hit a bunch of road bumps along the way, and we all do. And it's easy to lose sight of why we're on this journey to be healthy and to be better, stronger versions of ourselves. And we just have to remember that what's important to us needs to keep us motivated.
Yeah. And I honestly will tell you that motivation won't get you anywhere if that's what you're relying on. So if you really think about it, motivation is just a feeling. And it's so easy. You just said it. It's so easy to be not motivated. And if that's the only thing that's keeping you staying with your healthy habits, with working out, with eating healthy, all of the things that we talk to y'all about, you're going to fail because motivation wanes. It's just like when you wake up in the morning and you're thinking, oh, today's going to be my day. I'm going to eat healthy every meal and I'm going to have snacks and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then at the end of the day comes and you turn around and you look and you're like, oh my gosh, I did none of the things that I was so motivated to do this morning. What happened? And that's because, well, first off, if that's how you woke up, you had good intentions, but unless you have some habits in place, things just don't magically happen. But with the motivation, that can change in an instant. I am a highly motivated person in certain aspects of my life, but when it comes to working out, I know this is going to come as a surprise to many people. I am not as motivated as you would think. I am just like your average Joe and Jane. I just actually work out for many reasons, and I show up because of the discipline that I have practiced with this habit throughout the years. It's not because I wake up every day and go, can't wait to go do my workout, because that's not always how I feel. How about you?
Well, no, I'm not motivated most of the time. And so I just, while listening to you talk, I was thinking that really motivation is pushed and pulled by our circumstances.
Yes.
So it really has nothing to do, like you said, it's a feeling, but it's a surface feeling. So it can ebb and wane, if you will, throughout the day with your circumstances. So you certainly could wake up motivated. I'm going to do this and do this and do this. And the first roadblock you come to, like you misjudged your time and it took you longer to do your hair. So now you can't have that great breakfast that you had intended on having before you left to go for work. And now you have to grab something in the drive-thru, right? Yeah. So now your first step towards your goals is being hit by a roadblock. And if you don't have the discipline and the consistency to back up the motivation, you're never going to get through those roadblocks.
Right. And there's always going to be roadblocks. There's always going to be stress. There's always going to be somebody who needs or wants something from you at the most inopportune times. And that is going to easily throw you off the rails if you like you said, don't have these healthy habits, that discipline in place to actually get it done. So let's talk about discipline and consistency, and then we will wrap this up to give you some tips of how you can start creating this in your own life to have that, what seems like always, motivation to get your workouts and your healthy eating done. So tell me a little bit about what you think when you hear the term discipline, Heather.
What, your second or third grade teacher with a ruler and you'll get out of line and whack you right on the knuckles. So a lot of times I think we need that discipline. And I tend to be the disciplinarian, I believe, at the studio when it comes to, you know, people and when they come to me about stuff. I'm the one that promotes the discipline, if you will, because literally if you do not have the discipline for yourself, and I tell people this all the time, you can only control you.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to do it for you. So if you do not have the self-discipline and self-awareness to keep yourself going, you're just going to continually restart over and over and over again. And it's really hard to build discipline, but once you get it, it tends to want to stick with you because you get a little bit of a high. It's like a power high, a little power trip. So once you've reached a disciplined level, it just becomes second nature and you feel in control.
Yeah. And you don't really think about it. Mm-mm. You don't second guess it a lot of times. It's funny when you said that about the teacher, because I immediately thought about my parents, and they love me. They're wonderful people, but they did not spare the rod and spoil the child. Okay. So I dealt with discipline throughout my life, and as I became an adult, there were so many areas of my life where I was lacking. And so I really had to build those habits and to practice that discipline on myself to make myself show up. That's the thing, is that you have to find these habits that you know are going to lead you to better health, and then start to implement them into your life. And that consistency is doing it day in and day out, no matter what. And if you just show up with whatever it is in your life that you're trying to create a better space for, just showing up, whether you give 5% or you give 110%, that is going to keep that habit going. And that's where consistency builds. And that's what's going to give you that discipline that Heather's talking about when you get that high, because at that point you just show up and you do what you know needs to be done, and there you go. So I would love to hear examples. Let's not focus just on the health stuff at the moment, and then we'll come back and give them some tips on how to do this as far as health is concerned. So what are things in your life that you just tell yourself, basically, like I say, shut up, Amber, and just do it? You know, what is something that you do that you don't have the motivation to do?
It's a lot of things. Okay, one for instance, especially if you would ask my husband this, is closing doors behind me and drawers. It's a very fascinating issue that I have with myself that I probably never noticed before, but in the mornings or anytime I'm in the kitchen or the bathroom or even any place that has a door or a drawer, and when I leave the room, you can look back and tell exactly where I was. Exactly. You know what cabinet I was in, because I don't close the doors. I don't know why, but I physically have to tell myself, you need to do this. And I go back and I close the doors. And it may seem very menial, but you know, it's still a discipline that I have to discipline myself to go back and close the doors. And it's very, trivial, but it could lead to bigger things, I feel like.
Driving your husband crazy for one.
Driving my husband crazy for one. Absolutely. It's funny. And a lot of times I can tend to get over. So you said you didn't want to concentrate on food, but eating like certain things that I love, I could continue to eat like another slice of pizza, or I could continue to watch. And if I'm binge watching something, I can get sucked into the whole Netflix series things. And I have to tell myself, one more episode, or I'm going to finish this episode and then I'm going to pause it and I'm going to go do something.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to, set those constraints. So that's just a little bit of information about me. How about you?
That's setting the boundaries. You're saying for yourself. That's I have to do that with myself too, and a lot of things. I'm a bad social media scroller, so that's where I get caught. But I thought you were going to go there, but I'm very surprised to hear that about you with the cabinets and the drawers. Okay, so mine is cleaning. Like, I hate to clean. I always have. It's just not something I enjoy doing. So I actually clean the studio more than I clean my house, to tell you the truth. But I just at times have to say, all right, 'cause I have a beautiful Pekingese and she is my precious baby and she sheds terribly. So we really need to vacuum like every couple of days. And I'll look at the hair on the floor and I'm like, I really need to get that up. I know it's driving my husband crazy, and instead, I'll be scrolling on social media. And this is something also that's a little interesting. I've told y'all, I know I've got to be ADHD. I've never been diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure that I am. And people who are that will do something where they just kind of completely ignore the things that they need to do because they feel that pressure and that stress. So they'll go and do something that is stress relieving to them, but isn't actually it's not motivating. It's not something that's moving them toward their goals. So I find myself doing that. The procrastination, I absolutely do that, but I know that it needs to be done. So sometimes I'm like, really, it's going to take you 10 minutes to get this done. So that's the other thing, is I play games with myself and I'll set timers and see if I can't beat the timer. And that seems to help me stay a little bit more focused on what I need to be doing.
The competitive side of herself. She's competing with herself.
I compete with myself. And it's weird because then I'm like, okay, let's see if I can do this under 10 minutes, know, and that's very helpful. That's also helpful for time management because I struggle with time management. So that gives me that a little accountability and sets a boundary for me.
But I can almost see your face when you beat your timer, right? That goes back to the power high that I talked about with the discipline. If you master it, it gives you a little trip, and you're like, "Look at me!
Yes, I did it.
I'm gonna have to set it a little less next time."
That is so good. But so that is my non-health related thing. Mm-hmm. The health related, though, I will say is, and you and I practice this together because Heather is my workout partner, but going to the gym, and when we have a set schedule, and sometimes that gets messed up because we need to fit a client in, or my so busy travel schedule is what Heather would say, or, just things pop up in our lives, but we always go, okay, where are we going to put this workout? And it does help that we have each other, because I know that I can't just text Heather and say, I don't feel like it today. She's not going to let me get by with that. So I don't even attempt it. That's very, very helpful. So that's like the next layer up. But I just know that we, even on those days that we don't feel good, that we both just show up. And it's like, hey, I know one day we both came in and we were like having a day, and I was like, let's just do lighter weights today. But the point was, this is where the consistency comes in. We showed up and we did it, and it may not have been like our hardest 100% workout, but because we showed up and we did it, we didn't miss that day, and that doesn't take away from your consistency. So I think that's really important to think about when you're like, I'm going to skip today, that you probably shouldn't, even if you just show up and do like 5 minutes. That's better than nothing.
And I think that segues very nicely into, you need to draw people into your life that are going to help you stay accountable to yourself, because it's really hard to do it on your own.
It is.
I'm pretty disciplined and I'm pretty self-motivated, but it helps to have other people knowing that you need to show up for, regardless of what situation it is. So it's nice to be able to surround yourself with somebody or a group of somebodies who know that you're waiting, that they're waiting for you.
That's good. And like this week, you had kind of a crummy week with not feeling your best, and you still showed up for our workouts. We even had to switch one of our workouts around, and even though you didn't feel your best, you were still trying your hardest to do what you could while you were there. That just shows that discipline. And we didn't say
no. And typically once you get, if you're feeling crappy about something, typically once you get moving, it kind of helps and it doesn't bother you as bad as you thought it was going to.
This is true.
Yes.
Workout helps with a lot of things.
Yes.
For sure. So I think that probably, when you and I talk and we talk to our clients and we ask them what they need help with, so many times we have people that say, I just need just a little baby step to start, right? And so I think that for this episode, we could go through some examples of maybe some ideas of how you guys could start, where to start, what to do, and just some, suggestions that we have as far as that's concerned. The one thing that I want to say is I mentioned setting a timer, and I will tell you this: when you are trying to create a new habit in your life, because it's new and you haven't been practicing it, it's one thing to think it and want to do it. It's another for action to be put behind it. So you really have to do things that remind you to get it done. So setting an alarm on your phone to remind you to do it. Anchoring it to another habit that you already do. So hopefully you brush your teeth every morning. So maybe it's anchored to that. When I brush my teeth, I will do this. And then setting up the things that you need for whatever that healthy habit is for you to follow through. So I have a couple of examples. Do you have any? You want to, I saw you.
I'm feverishly writing little notes while she's talking. No. This is talking about the preparation part.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
Yep.
So one of the things that many people want to do is to start moving more. So depending on you, I don't know you. Thank you for listening. But if you have a desk job, or maybe you're a teacher, and you do get up and down throughout the day, or whatever your lifestyle is, I just want you to imagine that right now. And you're saying to me, Amber, I want to move more. What I would like for you to do is to pick a time in your day that you could give yourself 5 to 10 minutes to move. That doesn't mean you have to go to the gym. It doesn't mean that you have to do a certain type of workout. What I want you to do is just find that 5 to 10 minutes that in your day it's possible. And there may be multiple times. Go ahead and set multiple alarms on your phone right now. So if you're going to do it right when you wake up, maybe you're going to do something at your lunch break, and then at nighttime right before you go to bed. Let's set those 3 alarms. I don't care what it is, whether it's jumping jacks, walking. I wouldn't suggest starting with jumping jacks, but
stretching, mobility work.
Doing some mobility work. Maybe it's taking a moment to breathe. Just 5 to 10 minutes. Map that out, and then that's what I want you to do for the next week. Is to every time that alarm goes off, stop whatever you're doing and do that quick little movement there for yourself. The other thing is, a lot of times we have people come to us who need help with food. So one of the biggest things that we have people start to focus on, most people aren't eating enough actual lean protein, and they're not eating enough vegetables or fiber. Those are top 3 things that we can look at right there. So I would say, look at your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, and figure out where you can fit that protein in there. Or if you're not having a protein shake every day, have a protein shake at some point in your day, and then start to work on very slowly adding that in. So that might be a suggestion. Or maybe you need more vegetables. We do this little challenge with our clients, and it's a vegetable at every meal, because most people will do okay at lunch and dinner, but they never think about breakfast. So we had them come up with recipes and ideas of where they could add those vegetables in. So that might be something you could do for your healthy eating too.
All right, so from the healthy eating, I'm going to backtrack a little bit into the preparation part. So we know that we need to get more protein. We know that we need to get more fiber and vegetables in our diet, pretty much across the board. So what are you going to do to prepare for that every day? like she said, pick one meal. So if it's breakfast, if you need to, most people don't eat breakfast. That's typically the one thing that they come to us and say. I'll say, what do you do for, oh, I got my lunch. What do you do for dinner? I got my dinner all, okay, great. Then what do you have for breakfast? Oh, I'm typically not hungry at breakfast. And that's a no-go for me. So if breakfast is where you need to start, then start with planning your breakfast and plan it the night before. Plan it the week before, and just pick one thing. Try not to handle the whole meal. If you're just going to have more, then I'm going to have my protein shake or something. Start small, because if you start too big, then you're going to get overwhelmed when things don't go your way. And then you need to build a contingency plan. If it doesn't go my way, what am I going to do? Am I going to have like my one go-to always is like a bar. Bar should never be like the little protein bars. Should never be this is my main. This is my, oh no, I've been caught out without something. What am I going to do? Thing. So have a contingency. Have like something, a little emergency stash in your bag. And then that way you are still containing the discipline part of it, and the consistency will build in to what you need it to be. So preparation is key. You can't expect to get any of this done if you don't prepare ahead of time.
Yeah, that really is key. And thinking about it before it happens. I love that you said to do it the night before. I've told y'all many times I meal prep, but there are so many times that I get things already like set up in the fridge and I just have to put them in a cooler. And what I do is I have a little place by the door where my purse goes and my bag goes and my keys go for the next day. And then because I am special sometimes, I'll set the cooler over there just to remind me to get the stuff out of the fridge and put it in the cooler and take it with me, because that is, for some of us that can be a struggle to remember. We set ourselves up, and then the next day you walk out and you're like, oh my gosh, I've done that once recently and I was so mad. It was like my brain was trying to tell me you're forgetting something, and got halfway down the road and I realized I left my entire cooler at the house. I sat it in a place where it wasn't by the door. Mm-hmm. So that's the other thing, is learning to set yourself up for success. You know yourself better than anybody else. So I know that if I don't put all of that out there, if I don't put it where I can see it by the door, it is going to get left behind. So I don't even mess with that. Sometimes I even put things in front of the door so that I have to pick it up when I walk out. Yes. Or I've even gone ahead and put something in my car just because I knew, I'm like, today's the day. I'm going to leave it.
All the time. So also a little funny story for me that builds on the consistency part. So if you are consistently preparing, then the people around you will see. So one morning I was supposed to meet the run group at a different time, way early. My alarm got jacked up. One of them called me on the way saying, I'm on the way, who 100% expected me to already be running on the road at this point. And I literally just woke up. It was one of the freak things. This never happens to me. But I had everything out the night before, just like I do all of the time. Some of the stuff was in the refrigerator. My pack was on the counter. My husband, who was awake, knew what I needed because he had seen me get ready consistently before. So as I was getting dressed and getting ready, because I had all my stuff out the night before, so all I had to do was go into the bathroom, literally get dressed, brush my teeth. My husband had my pack waiting with my water bladder in it and all of this stuff for me to just grab it as I went out the door. Now, had I not had that consistency built in and the preparation, I would have not been able to make it on time, period. So it does work, and it is a success to help you stay consistent and disciplined and motivated to keep going.
Yeah, because a lot of people would have just rolled over and said, you know what, I missed it. I'm just not going to go. And Heather knows that people are depending on her, so she's definitely not going to leave you in the dust. That's for sure. And see, that cycles back around to surrounding yourself by people who are on the same or a similar path as you, and that have that desire for the motivation, the discipline and the consistency to get things done.
Yes.
Because, when we were young, I don't know, did your parents tell you that whole birds of a feather flock together?
Yes.
Or you lie down with dogs,
Yep.
you're going to get up with fleas.
Please.
I mean, I heard that a lot, and it really has come to fruition as an adult, that I realize that when I surround myself by people who are on a similar path as me, I do so much better. And I have so much less resistance, because you guys are like, let's go work out, let's go for a walk. I also happily married someone who is active. So, when we sit around too much, we'll be like, let's go for a walk, let's go do this. So it's nice to have that ability and that community around you.
Yes. And people are always watching.
Oh, yeah.
So if you stay motivated and disciplined and consistent, you're motivating and other people without even realizing that you're doing it. You may not even hear it from them, but they are watching you, and they will end up mimicking what you do because they want the results that you are getting.
Yeah, that is true. And especially now with social media, because we all, most of us post, you and I do, because it's the nature of the business is that we have to share our lives with people. So, but people see that, and then it helps them to say, hey, I can do this too. Or even some, like you said, not everybody's going to give you the high five or be like, oh, I've been watching you from behind the scenes for a long time. But, sometimes people do reach out because they're like, oh my gosh, can you help me? I see that you've been through this fire that I've had to go through. Can you help me?
We're all going through it.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's not easy. And there were points in my life that I did not have this discipline. And I have a friend who is a personal trainer. And before I became a trainer, I worked out with him a long, long time ago. And there was a point in my life that I was just really struggling. And I hired him for a little while just to help me get back on the path. Now I don't need that help because I'm so self-motivated. I have you as my workout partner. But if I needed help, I would just hire a coach. That's why we do what we do.
That's why we're here.
To help people. So hopefully that will give you some ideas of ways that you can start to implement these healthier habits. And just remember, you don't have to be focused on perfection. Every time that you make a better choice that's going to increase your health, I want you to give yourself a big fat high five, because that's awesome. It's not about perfection. It's about practicing and getting better and finding that discipline where you're completing these habits day in and day out until you no longer have to think about it. So thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this. We'd love to hear from you. And definitely make sure you like, subscribe, and tune back in, because we have a lot more great episodes coming out for you.
Lots of stuff to talk about.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.